Okay, so the first personality we want to talk about is air. And we're doing this mainly just because it's alphabetical and makes life easier. When we think about the personality air, we actually have to think about what air does and what air is, and what it has in it, and what does it do to us, and what could it do to us, and all that. So the first thing is that air isn't just the air that we breathe, it's what else is out there too. I mean, it's not oxygen. Oxygen is what we breathe, sure, but it's not oxygen. It's oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen. There's a little bit of magnesium, usually some lead. There's some carbon dioxide. I mean, there's a ton of different things in the air that's naturally around us, and we kind of just take in the oxygen. The other things that are in the air that's around us is viruses and bacteria. And so some of these are helpful and good, and we need them, and other times we just don't. They're deadly and dangerous, and they make us feel really, really bad. So overall, air just contains a little bit of everything. It doesn't contain a lot of everything. It doesn't contain so much lead that we're going to die. At least we hope it doesn't contain that much lead. It doesn't contain so much bacteria that there's no way we could ever go outside. No, but it does contain a little bit of everything. So if we think about it that way, when we start talking about people who have the air personality, the first thing is that these people are really, really flighty, and it's not in a bad way. They're good people. That's not what I'm saying, but they don't stay focused. They have a very short attention span, and you see this in a lot of people. Fire kind of has the same thing because they're only focused. But air is what we're talking about. And air is really, really, really flighty. And they'll jump from topic to topic. Eventually they'll get back to the topic at hand and the topic you want them to talk about. But until then, just be patient. Air is also really, really manipulative. And they're generally kind of selfish about it. They want what they want, and sometimes what they want isn't exactly what they need. But they want a lot, and they're not afraid to make sure you give it to them. And sometimes even if they're not being outright selfish, they're being selfish in a different way. They want you as a friend. So because they want you as a friend, they're going to treat you well, and they're going to help you out, and they're going to buy you pretty things, and they're going to do stuff like that, but they're still actually being selfish because they want you to be their friend. The same thing is, sometimes they know they might come on some hard times and they need somebody to back them up, so that they kind of stock up all these favors by doing tons and tons and tons of favors for you. So we talked about how the elements are really about the last Airbender has really good, and then when you actually get to see in both Korra or in the last Avatar, the Air Nation is actually really accurate. They're the most spiritual out of all of the elements, and that's saying something because I'm water, so and here I am talking to you about your personality. But the Air Nation is really the spiritual one. They are spiritual. I mean, the first thing is that they're high, not low. When we talked about the Greeks defining all the different elements, and one of the definitions that we used was high. Well, air is definitely high. They think about things far beyond their world and just their immediate friends. They're thinking all the time, and they're thinking about different things. I mean, think about everything's somewhere there. But in the long run, they're always thinking about something more than themselves. That they're thinking about their friends and how their friends would be really sad if they did something, or their friends would be really happy if they did something. And the other thing, that air is really, really cold. When you get to see air's emotion, you're going to be blown away by the amount of emotion that they have. But it's all evenly spread. So they're happy, yeah, sure, at this situation, and then they're really, really angry at another one, and so it all just kind of levels out, and you don't really see anything unless you're in the situation that's making them really super happy at the given time. You only see whatever emotion they have in that situation, and then you go into a new situation, and boom, you have a new emotion, if you even have an emotion. And so it's not that they don't feel, it's just that they feel on a different level. They feel everything all the time, and so you just never really see that they're feeling anything. But air, of course, is not the only personality in a world. You have earth, fire, water, and metal, which we'll hash over everything about metal later. So what we see in air isn't actually the flighty, manipulative, selfish people, or even the cold or high. That's all somewhere in their heart, somewhere in their head. We see how they interact with people. So air, I mean, if you get it riled up, it's a little bit easier to do, but it happens. If you get air riled up, it's like a tornado, especially if you start mixing them with people who are earth. Tornado is a very good description. It doesn't necessarily kill millions and trillions of people, but it injures them and destroys houses and homes and wrecks lives. And it does this by not only tearing apart what you've built on the earth, but pieces of the earth too. I mean, it rips out trees, and all the dirt with the roots come, so you get earth spinning around in this tornado too. And the nice thing about air is, just as it can tear you down, it can also help build you up. Although the physics in the real world might not be there, the idea that we have of this is. And I know it sounds weird, but in cartoons, that's exactly what happens. I mean, in the old Bugs Bunny cartoons, the tornado would show up on the screen, little dust devil, and it would spin out of control and go through this house that was unfinished, and then it would finish it, or this completely broken house, and now you have this brand spanking new mansion. And cartoons do this all the time. Well, the theory sticks for air personalities. Air can not only tear you down because you're being stupid or selfish or mean, they can help build you up and get you to the place where you want to be. And this is, of course, way more common than other elements when you start mixing earth and air. They kind of like earth. If they like earth, they really like earth, and if they don't, they're that tornado. When you start mixing air and fire, though, it gets weird. Air and fire are best friends, and if they're not best friends, you need to go away. Seriously, just take 5 steps back, and when they're not looking, run. Because earth and air, when they fight, they kind of damage each other, and that's fine. But when fire and air fight, they're either best of friends or they're fighting. And if they're fighting, they're just going to Hiroshima the whole place. I mean, it's just going to go away. And so get out of there. Or make them friends. When you start getting water and air together, they can be friends, and when they are friends, they're really good friends, because they have to work through all the troubles and all that. But if they're not good friends, when you put water and air together, it makes a mist kind of personality for the group, and it's not a good thing, because air is so flighty and widespread. Water can do that, but it only can do it so much. Water is situation-based, so they'll jump from situation to situation, but they're contained in the AB little situation that they have. So when you start mixing them with air, and air's naturally expansive mind of ever considering situations, water starts to back that up and follow along, and then they just can't keep up. Water is a very slow moving element, and air moves too quickly in too many different directions, and they just, if they get along, they get along, and if they don't, they just, there's no destruction like the other elements. If they don't get along, air is about the only one that can not cause destruction with water. The other elements in air, they're not friends, they like blow up the world. But that's pretty much what you're going to see in air. People who are air are this way. And so if you're trying to figure out if they are air and they kind of match this really well, great, they're probably air. Definitely look through all the other elements. We'll talk about earth in a second, which is Air's opposite and all that stuff. And so they get along relatively well when they're getting along, and they don't get along when they don't get along. So we'll talk about Earth.